and a warm welcome. Today, let us talk on Venus retrograde. Venus gets retrograde in its own sign of Libra on 6th of October and remains as such till November 16th. Venus is a planet of beauty. It represents pleasures, comforts, and our conjugal bliss. Being the ruler of the natural zodiac signs of Taurus and Libra, it affects our relationships. That is, it affects the relationships that we form with our family, and it also represents the relationships formed outside the periphery of the family, starting with that of our spouse, moving on to our partnerships and our public interaction in general. The Mula Trikona sign of Venus is Libra. Venus represents the genitals and the reproductive organs in men and women. It is considered to be a minister in the Indian Puranic stories and a Daitya Guru or the Guru of the Rakshasas, Shukracharya. When Venus is strong in a chart, it gives the native comforts, pleasure of senses, erotic pleasure, luxuries, etc. The element that Venus represents is water, and it reflects on emotional stability, and in turn it promotes affections and consequently it regenerates us. Venus retrograde people have a lot of idealistic notion about love. Their standards of behavior as far as emotional quotient are concerned is very different from that of people with a direct Venus. Venus with its watery element shows a great deal of sophistication and grace. Somehow, the retrograde Venus people like to call a spade, and they do not believe in mixing words when it comes to being honest. There's a need to improve social graces which can be done over a period of time. Honesty, as far as relationships are concerned, is a great quality that they value and would take it on to a great height. Personal hygiene again becomes a matter of great importance for those with Venus retrograde. People with retrograde Venus in their chart can have a very futuristic sense of love, fashion, which may not be appreciated by the present generation, but the generations to come look up to them and sit up and take stock. When Venus is retrograde in transit, it takes away our ability to wait, to be patient, and to love and to be giving. It is replaced by impatience, it is replaced by snappy attitudes, and it is also replaced by a very ulterior or the need kind of an attitude. It is seen that during the Venus retrograde phase in transit, many a times there are relationships falling apart left, right, and center. The need to wait, hold on, and to experience a different aspect of the same relationship is flown out of the window, and the rush to break things up, the rush to dissolute becomes paramount. Venus in a chart represents our self-worth. Also, it represents the second house and the collection that a person has, be it of skills, be it of material value, or be it a physical attribute. It all adds on to a person's self-worth. So when Venus is retrograde, this calls upon us to take a good internal look onto our self-worth. Venus also represents our public relationships, and so it is time for us to take a good stock internally. It is an internalization of the energy to understand what is important for us and how do we behave in public and in personal relationships as well. Since Venus is retrograde since Venus is going to go retrograde in the 7th house of the natural zodiac, it calls upon us with a very big knock to take care of our professional and familial relationships. It is time to take a good stock of how you would like yourself to be with people around you. It is also time for you to understand your contribution in an institution which is highly valued but is generally losing out on its patience. Yes, the institution of marriage. When Venus is retrograde, it is not a good time to start a new source of income. While interpreting how a retrograde Venus is likely to behave, we can also akin it to that of Mars acting on a lower octave. Venus is known for her grace and beauty, so a retrograding Venus in transit can give rise to jealousy, revenge, possessiveness and infidelity. This could cause stress and misery too because Venus is magnanimity in its direct phase. This is a time when we might see drama instead of grace in real life. Making friends with benefits during this retrograde phase can prove to be detrimental for your other relationships and can cause a lot of stress to you. So stay away from one-night stands. Being retrograde in the house of relationships, we might in this retrograding phase be very skeptical about relationships, or we can also have an issue acknowledging a relationship. It could also be a fact that we may not be very secure in a relationship or would be feeling insecure about the relationship, especially during the retrograde phase. It is a time when we need to hold on to what we have and wait for this retrograde feeling to pass away so that once the planet is direct, she can guide us better in directions of self-worth and relationships. However, this is a time when we do need to reflect about our strengths and our weaknesses in any relationship, be it personal or be it on a public front. This retrograde phase in transit is a good time to buy antiques, or it is a good time to buy an old home and to renovate it to your convenience and your desires and requirements. This is the phase when the value of things which are beautiful is diminished. So you're likely to get these things like antiques and an old beautiful home at less than the cost that it would when Venus would be direct. As Venus owns the Maruka houses of the natural zodiac, the 2nd and the 7th house, and is currently transiting its own house, the Maruka house of the natural zodiac, the 7th house of Libra, and when going retrograde, it cautions us to take a good care of our health, to take a good look, and if possible, for those who have certain symptoms of unhealthiness or unwellness, it is likely that you should go and get an examination done just to be on the safe side. As Venus represents beauty and food, it's a good phase to take care of your health regime so that it does not burden your systems, making you lethargic in the process. Let us now move on to retrograde Venus for all the Lagnas. For the Aries Lagna, being the lord of the 2nd and the 7th house, and being retrograde in the 7th house of public relations and marriage. 2nd house also represents our self-worth. It represents our accumulation, our wealth and family. This might prove to be a tough or jubilant time in the marriage and finances of the native. It is time to take a reflective look and find out the loopholes in the ways we manage our finances and a marriage, and also the kind of persona that we put forward in front of others. This time can be put to a good use by having emotions go through a filter to self-evaluate and to become a better person. For the Taurus Lagna, with the Lagna Lord of self and the 6th Lord of litigations and affair going retrograde in the 6th house gives the person a strong need to curb his indulgences and to take stock of his relationships that are outside the boundaries. It is time to go for a detoxification program and make things healthier and look better in terms of healthcare so that later on they do not cost much. Take a look on affairs outside marriage in the same light also, as it would cost you a lot if not taken into account properly. For the Gemini Lagna, with the 12th lord of expenditure and losses and the 5th lord of romance and intelligence and children going retrograde in the 5th house, it calls upon you to take a look at the expenses as regards your children. It also shows a need to take stock of your romance and decide how you would want to progress. It would help you to set boundaries. Having high expectations from your partners would be dangerous for you, and you may need to review the situation now, especially as your 5th lord gives you the golden opportunity to do so. It is advisable to stay away from speculation with the 5th lord being retrograde in the 5th house of speculation. It could cause you some losses. For the Cancer Lagna, with the lord of the 4th house of home, security and mother, and the 11th lord of gains, long-term returns and social circuit, retrograde in the 4th house, it is an ideal time to take a good look at your sense of security. It is advisable that you take your mother to a healthcare checkup and do not have any talk with her which might result in a misunderstanding. Best to keep your views to yourself. It is a time for you to assess your emotional needs and see who's really important for your inner circle of family and friends. If you want to renovate your home at low budget, this is an ideal period for you to get started. For the students, it is not the right time to start any new form of education. Rather, go back to an old studies or your old books and find something worthwhile, and you're sure to find a gem lying right there waiting to be noticed amongst itself. For the Leo Lagna, with the lord of the 3rd house of communication and 10th lord of career retrograde in the 3rd house, it is time to pause and give a thought on how good your communication skills are, especially as regards your work. This reflection can lead you to become a better orator and in turn help you gather more friends in your life. One would want to reflect as being bossy or submissive by way of actions, and that will help you to get respect and applause as being a just, fair and a knowledgeable person. It is also time to reflect upon your relationships with your sisters and brothers, especially siblings, to understand them and your relationship and to bring about a transformation where and when required. For the Virgo Lagna. For the Virgo Lagna, 2nd lord of family and finances and 9th lord of luck, elders and higher education, going retrograde in the 2nd house could lead to a person having some issues with elders in relation to finances. It is a time where we need to understand the point of view of the elders to maintain peace and harmony in the family. Cutting speeches can destroy the happiness and lead to complications. It is a time when your luck might seem to be low and browbeaten. So, it is advisable not to bank too hard on luck and to make it work by doing a lot of hard work. For the Libra Lagna, Lagna Lord is retrograde in the Lagna, and it is a clear indication that the person needs to slow down. The energies of the person have been harnessed to its full potential, and now it's time for some much needed rest. Being the lord of the 8th house also, Venus shows a need for meditation to regroup this energy. It is an excellent time to buy antiques for such persons as they are likely to get it for a steal. People planning to buy old houses will do good, but the need to find hidden costs is a must. It is a time to stay away from indulgences in excess. For the Scorpio Lagna, the lord of the 12th house and the 7th house gets retrograde in the 12th house. It is a good time to rethink and re-establish your public image. A need to love people for who they are and not what they can do for you will help you regain a lot of public footing. Take a good stock at your marital aspects and what more can be practically set right in your marriage. Restrain from PDA as much as possible, but be more giving to the person and the relationship. For the Sagittarius Lagna, the 6th Lord of Affairs, Debts and Litigations and the 11th Lord of Contacts goes retrograde in the 11th house. There is a great need to be careful about your financial situation. Avoid giving anyone loans during this period. Also, if you have given a loan, please ask for its return only after Venus is direct. It is also a good time to schedule a health regime in your daily life. It is an opportune moment to encash the combination of your Lagna Lord and the 11th Lord in the house of health. Go for a health checkup, it would be good for you. It is also a time not to get into scuffles with anybody, especially servants. This will keep you stress-free. For the Capricorn Lagna, as the Yoga Karaka goes retrograde in the 10th house of profession, you may feel a need to revive and review certain situations about your work. It is also a time to take hold of your finances and not be too speculative about them. Students need to take up revisions of subjects that they feel they are weak in for better results. You may suddenly lose interest in your love life, or you may be seeing your partner in a different light. Hold on till Venus turns direct before calling it quits. An office romance may also go haywire. Be careful with your behavior with ladies, especially at your workplace. For the Aquarius Lagna. For the Aquarius Lagna, the Lord of the 4th and the 9th house goes retrograde. It is time to think about your parents. It is also time to spend some quality time with the elderly and family members. A good time to review a higher education and also take stock of what should be filtered and what should be kept. This period will help you understand an old subject better, especially if the subject is in relation to the occult. Restarting or learning an old subject would be a good idea. The end of this phase would be like a comeback from a difficult period because you may be under emotional stress during this period. Revisiting an old teacher, guru, or donating to a temple will help you regain some mental peace. Finally, for the Pisces Lagna, this is a phase when the 3rd Lord of Initiation and Courage and the 8th Lord of Transformation goes retrograde in the 8th house. This is not the time to schedule any transformation or to take any initiative. It is a time to be contemplative, to chalk out a plan so that you can bring about a transformation in your life once Venus goes direct. It is also a phase when Venus is moving its energies inward. In short, it is a time when you go into a meditative, speculative and reassessive phase for your own self to see where you can do a research on your own and find out how to become a better person. This is also a time when you need to make certain bonds with your in-laws for a better and a quiet period. Stay away from any scuffles or arguments from siblings. So this brings us to the end of effects of Venus retrograde for all the 12 Lagnas. Venus is a planet of beauty and grace. It is time to internalize our grace and to see how we can improve on our speech, on our value of assets, value of relationships and our self-worth. It is also a beckoning time for us to understand how we can make ourselves a better person through our speech and our interpersonal relationships. With the hope that this retrograde phase brings about a change in us for the better. Stay safe and stay nice till we meet again. Thank you.